Okay, guys, so what I'm going to show you right now, this is just review. Okay, so many of you are probably freaking out that we have a test on Monday, but in order to understand what we're going to be talking about today, you still need to get a good grasp of what's happened in the past. Okay, so we're going to start uh, with the French and Indian War. So that's kind of where a lot of the colonists in Great Britain's problems originated. Okay, so the problem is that the French and Indian War, it was not cheap. Okay, it was not a free war, right? Without Great Britain aiding the colonists, there could have been a chance that the colonists might have been overtaken by France. They may have been overtaken by the Native Americans, right? They may have been kicked out of their land. So Great Britain saw it as a way to defend their people. Okay, so they knew that they had to fight this war, and it was necessary, and it cost money. Okay, so later on down the road, these taxes started to be instilled in the colonists, and the colonists were kind of like, whoa, hold up now, wait a second. Why are we being taxed when you wanted to fight the war, right? I mean, colonists still helped fight the war, but they asked the question, why are we the ones having to pay for it? Well, people in Great Britain were like, we don't even live in Great Britain, yet our tax dollars are going to those colonists, so they should be paying for it. So parliaments decided that, you know what? We're going to instill some taxes and the colonists to help pay for the war. Okay, the first tax was an indirect tax, and it was the Sugar Act. Okay, this tax was meant to hurt the rum industry, right? Because it taxed sugar and molasses. Now, one person that this did affect was John Hancock. Okay, he ran a business, generally a wine business too, where he would trade with foreign countries, specifically France and the Netherlands or the Dutch from the West Indies. And then this act basically said, okay, not only is there a tax on sugar and molasses, you are also not able to trade with those countries, right? They were taking a monopoly on those products. So the British colonists were like, whoa, wait a second. This is not right. This shouldn't be happening to us. We should be allowed to trade freely with any country we choose. Okay, so we have the Sugar Act. That's the first act that starts to really anger the colonists. The second act was the Stamp Act. Okay, and as we can recall, this was a tax basically on paper products. This was a direct tax. Okay, so this angered the colonists. So again, it was a direct tax specifically on paper goods, right? Colonists use paper goods every day. So this is going to affect a huge amount of people. Okay, so not only was this act meant to help pay for the war, it was also meant to show dominance, to show the colonists who's in charge. We're in charge. Great Britain is in charge. You listen to us. You pay our taxes. That obviously is not going to go very well for the colonists. They're not going to react very nicely to that statement. And then finally, we have the Townshend Acts. Okay, these are taxes on British goods sold in the colonists. So they're hidden taxes. So when when the colonists would buy paint or glass, right? Say yesterday it cost $3, today it's going to cost $4 because of the Townshend Acts. The acts are placing hidden taxes on these British goods sold in America. So the colonists are not stupid. They get these acts are ways to help pay for the war and to show dominance. What they were upset was about is that they had no taxation without representation, right? That was the big idea. No taxation without representation. So many of them are like, listen, okay, we get it. The war was expensive. We should probably help pay for it, but at least have us be represented in Parliament to make these laws for our people. That's the least you could do. And Great Britain's like, nah, that's all right. So the whole no taxation without representation is a huge theme in these struggles. Okay. Colonists also were like, hey, you know what? We don't want to pay these taxes. We'll avoid tax collectors. We'll start smuggling in our goods, right? We will find a way around it. And so Great Britain realized that, and they repealed all of these acts, except for one, the Tea Act. Okay? They basically set a monopoly on tea. So the only tea the colonists could buy was from Great Britain. And this act actually lowered taxes. But it gave them a monopoly. It lowered taxes on tea, but the colonists are like, well, I could have bought it cheaper from the French before this, but now I have no option. I have to buy it from you. Yeah, you're saying it's cheaper, but still in the long run is actually more expensive. Okay, so now again, the no taxation without representation, they're mad. The colonists are angry, so they respond. So if we look at 3 here, some of their responses. First one, Boston Massacre, right? Them taunting the British soldiers. They want them to fire. They want the British soldiers to cause trouble. Okay, the propaganda with all of that with Paul Revere and his painting. They tarred and feathered tax collectors, right? Remember in the John Adams video when the one tax collector wasn't being as responsive as he should have been? Colonists took care of him. They started to smuggle in goods. Many of them avoided paying taxes. And then finally, the Boston Tea Party. Okay, this was the final straw for Great Britain. So the colonists with the Boston Tea Party, they unloaded 342 chests of tea, of British East India Company tea, into the Boston harbor. Okay? Dumped into the Boston harbor. Okay, that's obviously going to create a lot of issues with Great Britain because they're losing money. Every chest of tea going over in the harbor is money for Great Britain. So they're mad. Okay, they're absolutely mad. So number 4, they respond. Okay, and they respond with the intolerable acts or the coercive acts. Think of these as like punishments. Okay, I'm not going to go into detail with the punishments because you guys just looked at them with your newspaper. But you do need to be aware of what those consisted of and why they were punished, right? What were the punishments, the purpose, who did it affect, why did Great Britain instill it? And we just went over a lot of those answers, okay? But right now we need to look at page 120 in your book. So I'll wait. Get your book up. Open up to page 120. 120. I will wait. You can also always pause this video too if you need to. Okay, so page 120. So we're going to be looking at the First Continental Congress before we even watch John Adams, right? So many of you did discuss this in your newspaper, but I still feel you're a little confused on why it was created. So we're going to read these two together. You guys are going to take notes that I already typed up, and then we're going to look at the John Adams series next, okay? So in September 1774, 55 delegates gathered in Philadelphia. They had come to set up a political body that would represent Americans and challenge British control. So again, September 1774, 54 delegates met in Philadelphia to challenge British control. So to challenge these laws. Okay. The delegates called this body the Continental Congress. Leaders from 12 of the 13 colonies attended the meeting. Only Georgia did not send a representative. Massachusetts sent fiery Sam Adams and his lawyer cousin John Adams. New York sent John Jay, another lawyer. Virginia sent George Washington, as well as Richard Henry Lee and Patrick Henry, 2 outspoken defenders of colonial rights. Patrick Henry wanted the colonies to unite in firm resistance to Britain. He summed up the meaning of the meeting when he addressed the delegates on its second day. Okay, he said the distinctions between Virginians, Pennsylvanians, New Yorkers, and New Englanders are no more. I am not a Virginian, but an American. So Patrick Henry was one to actually start looking at Boston's cause, Massachusetts' cause. He's looking at America as a whole, not as separate colonies, but as a whole, as a country. Okay, that's a big step in the birth of our country. Okay, so the next portion, we're going to look at what did the First Continental Congress do? And before we start looking at that, you guys do keep in mind, in this Congress, we have loyalists and we have patriots. Okay, loyalists are Congress people or just colonists in general that are loyal to Great Britain. They don't want to break up with Great Britain, right? Because they actually make decent money from Great Britain, right? They have a good business deal with them, or they respect them. They have a lot of family. Patriots are those colonists that want to break away. They want to be more independent. They want to be their own country. So you're going to definitely see this struggle in Loyalists versus Patriots when we watch the John Adams series. Okay, but back to the book, page 121, the delegates vote. The delegates discussed complaints against the British. Then they voted. In a statement of grievances, the delegates called for the repeal of 13 acts of Parliament. They believed these laws violated the laws of nature, the principles of the English Constitution, and the several charters of the colonies. The delegates also voted to boycott British goods and trade. The colonies would not import or use any British goods, nor would they sell their goods in Great Britain. Continental Congress delegates also decided to endorse the Suffolk Resolves, prepared by the people of Boston and other Suffolk County towns in Massachusetts. These resolutions declared the coercive acts to be illegal. They called on the country's residents to arm themselves against the British. After delegates endorsed the resolve, other colonies also organized militias, groups of citizens. So again, here we have to look at what were they doing. So the first agenda part on their agenda was to even look at the acts, these taxes that we saw, the intolerable acts of Parliament, and how they were violating every single civil right of a man, a British man. And they also decided that they want to boycott British goods. Okay, and not only that, they supported the Suffolk Resolves, which was created by Bostonians who said that the intolerable acts were illegal. Okay, and they also encouraged other colonies to arm themselves with militias. And so not only that, they sent the king these grievances. They said, listen, these acts that you are instilling upon us, forcing us to follow, are violating our rights as Englishmen. These are unfair, and we would like to find a way to resolve these problems. So they did try to, talk with the king, right? They tried to make amends, make up, I guess would be the word, right? So think of it, this part now, as like a bad breakup. Okay, so the colonists are trying to make peace with Great Britain. They're trying to make up. But you're going to see Great Britain ain't having it today. Okay? So guys, hopefully this was really good review. Once you're done with this video, please move on to the John Adams video. I haven't decided. I think I'm going to make another screencastify of that video and then have you guys watch it individually, or I'm going to do it in class. So just be prepared for my answer of what you should be doing next. Okay? Please make sure you wrote these notes down and that you use these for the test on Monday. All right. Thanks, guys.